Good day. Lulama Zono is my name. Welcome and thank you for joining us here on Ship to Shore. Ship to Shore brings you engaging and informative conversations with students, seafarers, practitioners, and professionals in the maritime industry. Please subscribe on our YouTube channel and Facebook page, Ship to Shore. Joining me today is Mnqobi Msane, a graduate from the Durban University of Technology, and now sailing the high seas. Mnqobi, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for having me.
Beautiful. Mnqobi, when we start this conversation, just give us a sense of where you come from and how you got into the maritime studies.
As you mentioned, my name is Advice Mnqobi Msane, known as Black in the industry. Mnqobi comes from a small town, market town, north of Durban, Eshowe, which is where I grew up, and sort of like the town nurtured me to who I am today. Maritime studies, I think it chose me in a way because I had applied in all these other universities, predominantly known universities in KZN, Johannesburg, even went for interviews. But then on the day, I think it was January 2010, and then a nice lady from the Maritime Department of Studies, I don't know how they got my academic details for my matric. And I think her name was Ashna, the secretary. She just called me and says, we got your number from a database, all your information. So if you still haven't found any university interested in maritime studies, you can come and register. So of course I took that opportunity because I was up and down the country looking for university space. And then it brought itself to me actually. So I just took it also, and I went and I registered. I had no idea what it was about. Honestly. I just thought maybe I'm gonna be a service. Yeah, I thought I'm gonna be a service engineer, maybe on dry docks or somewhere in the port of Durban or Richards Bay. But little did I know, boy, I was getting myself in such a huge industry, traveling the world and all. But I don't regret having taken that opportunity, because it's actually a vast industry. So that's how I got into the industry. I had no idea what it was about, because if you're coming from a place where I come from, such things are just not known. You know, it's either you become an engineer, a lawyer, or a doctor, or a social worker, and then that's it. To be a mariner, it's something you only see in the movies, or it's for other people of other cultures or like that.
Quite. Now, you were a maritime studies, a seagoing student for 3 years or so, on and off.
Yeah.
And how did that program prepare you for a life at sea, both technically as a navigator and also mentally, psychologically as well?
I cannot take anything away from the Department of Maritime Studies, DUT. They were just formally starting out because it was only in Cape Town, CPUT. We had a smaller, so our department, I think, was the smallest within the whole block of university. However, there was an increase of students growing there. But however, we had Mr. Governor, so rest in peace, who came from Cape Town, from the industry, who I think pioneered a lot of us as young Black, rural grown pupils. Like he was passionate about preparing us as much as he could. It was so realistic. His teachings were, you could almost imagine yourself on board a ship, even if you haven't been there as yet.
I see.
Calculating and school. So I think technically we are lucky to have a department. It was small, but it had experienced pupils who've been in the industry, hands-on. So they could pass any knowledge from us, give us valuable advice. Psychologically, we went to courses, and there was these courses that you do with a qualified therapist, and then they tell you what to expect and what not to expect.
Okay.
If you encounter a problem with different nationalities, how do you overcome certain challenges, more emotionally, physically, and also psychologically as well? Because being here, it takes a lot from one person, honestly. And because people see the glitz and the glam, but you really have to be strong here, I think, personally, mentally, and then emotionally, more importantly. So I think DUT sort of like gave us a first-hand experience on what to expect when you get to sea. So by the time we get on board, I mean, it wasn't as, it felt like we've been there before, even
Is
if
it?
it was our first time. So I think Mr. Governor, Captain Johnson, Mr. Mnqobi, and all those guys, like they did their part, honestly, I think.
No, that's beautiful. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah,
So now, Mnqobi, for
yeah.
someone who does not know you, just give us a sense of your work experience. How much time have you been at sea? What types of vessels or companies have you worked for? And what routes have you been on? Just give us a sense so that somebody knows who they're talking to, and probably
Yeah.
your ranking as well.
Okay. So I started. You go through duty, and then you go through cadetship, which I started in 2012 October. My first ship was the SA Agalas, which was a cadet fast accelerated program, or it was supposed to be fast. So you go on board ships, you receive your 12 months training, as much sea time as you possibly can. Yeah, and then I went up until 2014, I think, training with other cadets. There was like 70 of us, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, and then after that, you get your seamen's book. You go to SAMSA, which is like the Seafarers Administration under the
Right. Yeah.
Department of Transport.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's when you do your examinations to be a qualified officer. So you start as cadet, officer, third mate,
Sure.
second mate, chief mate, and captain, like that.
I see.
So since 2016, I've worked with SAMSA special projects as a third officer first time.
Okay.
On
Just
a
hold on
vessel
one,
Africana. It was
one
a
second there, Mnqobi. For someone who
yeah.
does not know anything about these, I just want to give these terminologies that we use here. SAMSA stands for
Oh,
South African
okay.
Maritime Safety Authority. So yeah, you can go on.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Mnqobi, are you there? Yes, you can go on now.
Yeah, different officer levels. You start your cadetship, still a trainee, or INSEV is what they call it. And then you work for 12 months, minimum sea time, training on board. There's minimum 12 months sea time. You don't have to do it straight. It can be to 6 months, go home, 6 months, like that. But it should be total of 12 months minimum. And you can receive a training book, of which it's written all of the tasks that you need to do while on board, and these tasks needs to be signed by the officers and the captain as well, and stamped. This is just proof that you've been at sea for your INSEV. And then after you go to SAMSA, South African Maritime Safety Authority, they're the ones that certify us, register ships, anything pertaining to maritime. They're the ones who administer that under the Department of Transport. So once you finish your orals, to say now you're qualified as an officer, then you go to sea as a third mate. From third mate, you work your way up to second mate, chief mate, and then captain. So third officer was 1 stripes, second officer 2 stripes, third officer 3 stripes, and the captain 4 stripes.
I see.
So I'm currently serving as a third mate.
I see.
I've been a third mate for about 4 years now. I've worked in different companies. I've worked in South African Maritime Safety Authority special projects. This is SAMSA. They have their own vessels. It was a research ship that is coastal, South African coast. They basically have scientists on board, and then they do these expeditions and research, oceanography, environment stuff, all that marine biological stuff. And I've worked also on bulk carriers, tanker ships. I've been very fortunate to work in different industries, working with different nationalities as well. So yeah, I've been a third officer for a while now on a bulk carrier. I think I've worked for 3 years on bulk carriers. I have more than 24 months, if not 30 months of sea time as an officer. Yeah.
Okay. No, that really gives us a clear sense of your journey, and the journey of many seafarers, for that matter.
Oh yeah, and
Nowadays,
the routes. I think there's a part about the routes, sea routes I've
oh
traveled.
yes, yeah. So which,
Yeah, so I've been on tanker ships. I was lucky to be in South America, the Caribbean, and America. And then on the bulk carriers, I've traveled to Asia, New Zealand, Australia, South Korea, Japan, and then now I'm currently in North Africa, Europe trade. Like I said
oh
before,
yes,
Algeria and then Morocco, Egypt. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
oh okay. So you're currently saying with you're on a bulk carrier now.
Yeah, I'm on the bulk carriers.
Okay, that's
It's
beautiful.
correct.
Okay, no, thank you so much for that clarity there. It really gives us a clear sense of um, your journey and together with the journey of many seafarers. I mean, nowadays, you cannot begin or end any conversation without talking about coronavirus or the COVID-19 pandemic. You are now in the region of
Yeah.
Turkey, North Africa, as you say. You have been at sea for many months due to the COVID-19 situation. Tell us, how is the mood there on board on the vessel?
Um, there's an extra workload pertaining to now taking extra measures, hygiene and all, and sanitation measures to try as possible to curb or prevent any contamination happening on board. Because we remember there's only 21 of us here. So it
Okay.
means if one person should get contaminated, and then it means that the whole ship is now in jeopardy, you know. But however, we have a very strong, good captain, in my perspective, every day motivating the crew and us, especially the ones that are long overdue in contracts. They're supposed to be at home already. So every day for them, it's a challenge. However, the captain is trying together with the company to as much as yeah. I think like I said, the mood. I wouldn't say it was tense at first when this whole thing came out and about March and them. But now it's more become part of like a routine, like a second nature thing to go the extra mile in sanitizing or extra control measures to prevent the COVID, because you understand one person gets infected and then it's like the whole ship is in jeopardy. Especially that we are more in touch of different countries and different personnels and authorities from those countries. Um, However, we keep it going and keep it pushing, and one day at a time. We have our families that we need to support. So I think that motivates us, and knowing that they are safe also, and that the company is working extra hard to 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 sign off any crew that need to be at home. Yeah, like every day they keep us with emails and updating these contingency plans for prevention of COVID, supplying COVID-19 inventory to us in ports like masks and gloves.
Oh yeah.
So it's good to know that we are not alone also, you know. IMO is also really publishing weekly messages to seafarers at sea to say that they haven't forgotten about us. Also, they're working with ITF so that other countries can sort of like relax a bit for seafarers just to go home. So
I see.
it's all a matter
I
of
see.
whenever you reach a port. Yeah, so the mood, I think, is okay.
Okay.
I would say.
Okay, no, that's great. We'll come to the IMO and ITF discussion shortly. But before we get to that, you've just touched on this already, that the work has become more intense. Just give us a clear sense. When you mean, does this mean now longer, you spend more time at sea, more time at anchorage? Does it mean now there's access to less access to
Yeah, so,
ports? You just give us a clearer sense of um, how has the pandemic affected the work on
yeah,
board, and you personally as well? Just give us a sense of how have you dealt with the situation?
yeah, yeah. Well, national authorities in any country have restricted us as seafarers to go to shore leave. You know, shore leave is when a ship comes in a port, and during your free time, you can go visit the city, the shops, restaurants in the country that you are in.
Sure.
But now everyone has been banned from that. So it gets pretty dicey if you spend like 4 months at sea and you haven't been ashore, just to take a walk, get a fresh sense of fresh air or like that. Also, we have also been restricted to some items. Like before, the authorities would come on board the ship, they go inside and then check whatever, customs, immigrations. But now we've been asked by the companies to make sure that no one comes inside the ship. So we need to prepare an area for those people, like a tally office, sanitize it thoroughly, sanitize ourselves. Even our work gear, you have to put on a disposable gear, have a mask on, gloves all the time. Sanitize the whole ship after you're leaving a port, like thoroughly sanitize everything, your cabin, your phone, your pens, computers, everything is just sanitize, 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 wash, 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 like that. And then, like you said, yeah, things have become more stricter. Also, I think because of finding the next employment for a ship, because of COVID, some of the shore industries have to close down a bit. So ships now are more at sea and anchorage or drifting, waiting for the next voyage employment, because of the COVID. It's beyond anybody's control for now. So we're spending more time drifting, and yeah, we drift a lot and spend more time at anchorage now, actually, now that you mentioned that part. Yeah, so it's just that for me.
Oh wow. Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, as you also mentioned earlier, organizations like the International Maritime Organization, the International Transport Workers Federation, and many other organizations and companies related to the maritime industry have been calling on governments to relax the lockdown regulations so that seafarers can go home, and those that are home can be able to go on board. For any authorities listening to this message, government people who are the decision makers with regard to this issue, what message would you want to convey to them, and what would you like to say?
First of all, I would like to say, for whatever work that they're doing now behind the scenes that we maybe not be aware of, kudos to them. I know they've been working hard also. Like I said, they're sending messages and emails to companies for us to read, especially the International Maritime Organization, the IMO, which is like the huge body of the maritime industry under UN, and then the International Transport Federation. Also, they are also responsible for repatriation of AWOL seafarers. But I think they've come together now to work with governments to try and relax these restrictions, so to speak, so seafarers can go home, because in some countries it was just banned, you couldn't go anywhere. And then however, in the countries, some of them like Europe, I think Rotterdam or Turkey, actually, seafarers do have a crew change, but under certain circumstances, like when someone goes home, they go to a quarantine, and when the people that are coming from home, we need to prepare a separate cabin or room for them as well. For the next 14 days, they eat different plates from us. They live separately, but on the same ship. So I think that the ITM and ITF, kudos to them for trying to send some seafarers, because we hear stories about seafarers also going home, especially the Filipinos. They are able to go home. I haven't heard about South Africans as yet. Also in Singapore, it's now possible to sign off seafarers in Singapore. So it gives also China. So it also gives us a sense of, okay, maybe it's getting better by the day, by the day, by the day. And I just would like to inform them to keep working hard to make sure that seafarers go home also. Because at times you can feel like we are alone here, like the whole world is just forgetting about us as key workers or as seafarers. But I would like them to actually more frequent Euro ports like Rotterdam, all those countries, especially African countries, to allow seafarers to go home, I think. Or maybe charter a certain plane for seafarers if it's possible. I don't know. Yeah, but it's pretty much what I think.
Okay.
Should do.
Well, what I can tell you is that here in South Africa, the last time I got any kind of update on this issue was that if a South African is visiting a South African port, South African seafarer that is visiting a South African port, they can disembark and without any
they
issues.
can actually.
Yeah, so that's the only thing that's really allowed as far as I'm aware.
You've had some company ships also. Yeah, they had South Africans on board. Some of them signed off. It was smooth. You know, was okay. It was okay.
Yeah, no. Yes, that's right. So we hope governments are really going to look at this issue and act on behalf of the seafarers who are working hard at sea, stuck at sea, and because they ultimately are the backbone of seaborne trade and shipping, and they need their support during this. They need our support during this difficult time, and quick action. Okay, talking about South Africa, South African seafarers are competing against other nationalities, Indians, Filipinos, Chinese, Russians, and Indonesians as well. What do you think are our strong points? What are our advantages?
I think our training facilities. Look, I'm not going to judge people based on, but I think our training facilities are much more, judging by what they tell me about their training facilities. Like we are lucky to even have a sort of like a simulator. A simulator is like a virtual room that looks like a ship, but it's not a ship. So we had that at DUT and CPUT.
Okay.
We're also lucky that we have Western or European influence. So our communication with regards to the English language, which is more predominantly at sea, we are lucky that we can understand and speak fluently in that language, actually.
Sure.
We are also lucky, I think that's pretty much our training, our language communication. Those are the aspects that I think we have advantage on compared to other countries where even uttering one English language becomes a mission on their part. Like you get people say, like a Russian, like a Russian chief officer will say, I just made a report. They can come and check this South Africa, and then because he wants your English to, make it smooth like that. Yeah, I'm not saying that having like English makes us more clever, but you know what I'm trying to say, right? English is just a language. It's not a measure of intellect. But I think we're just lucky that we come from a country where English is more common. Our training facilities are much more competitive. Our training standards as well. Amongst other things.
Okay. South African seafarers as well.
Yeah.
I've heard this accusation a number of times actually, have been accused of being lazy and expensive. What is your take on this issue?
Stereotypes are everywhere. Racial stereotypes, traditional stereotypes, they're everywhere. Because I've heard, like I said, with some of my colleagues, there are like 21 Filipinos here, and I'm on all the different nationality. I'm the only South African amongst Filipinos. So after a long contract at sea, you become to form a bond with those people. And we talk about things like that. And they give it their sense, we think South Africans are like this. So that notion, it's based on us. That's what they have on us. They said, Africans are like this. So I think it goes a long way back, like stereotypically speaking. That they already will say, South African is coming on board, or African is coming on board. They automatically assume, his son's gonna be lazy, blah 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 blah. The part of being expensive, I don't know, because our standard of living, cost of living compared to other countries like Philippines, Indonesia is way high. Because theirs is way cheap also. Like for them, $1,000 a month is wow. You know what I mean? In South Africa, it's good money, but depending on where you live, it's not gonna carry you for long, even payments, I think. So
Yeah, no,
it's
I mean
not that
that's a lot
we are
of money.
expensive, it's because our
For
cost of
someone who,
yeah.
just to contextualize that, for someone who may be listening to this conversation and trying to understand what is $1,000. Well, that $1,000 is 17,000 rand with the current exchange rate. So that's really not a lot of money to
Yeah,
be able
yeah.
to sustain your life. Yeah,
No,
no, you can go on.
it's not, especially with family and whatnot. Yeah, but for them, it's big money because their food, their clothing, everything is much relatively cheaper. So it's not that we are expensive. It's just we trying to also live up to the cost of living back at home. And the lazy part, I don't know. I think individually it depends on people. Like I've had people come and tell me, and says, but you work hard, like you're an African, but we see you every day working hard and sweating. You even lost weight. Are you sure you're African? So, yeah, I'm South African. So I cannot. There's nothing we can do about that. It's just how people think of us. It depends on the individual, really. Yeah,
Mm.
that's what happens.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you are disproving all these stereotypes and misconceptions about us as a people, as Africans.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. And then just carrying on from an earlier issue that we spoke about, what do you think as South African seafarers and universities can improve on to make the quality of our seafarers much better at sea?
I think they also, what I picked up actually from last year that I was in school, they can try and keep up with the updates of the IMO and all the other concerned parties with regards to shipping procedures that are done on board ships.
Okay.
Because I noticed a lot of publications, not a lot, but some of the aspects and cost of publications are talking about systems or procedures that were used 5 years ago.
Okay.
Which is now, I think, yeah, but now things have changed,
Really?
on board ships. There's a lot of publications, a lot of procedures that are now being used. Also, the fact that technology has also played its part in some of the things. So I think that the university can also try and update the sort of like system with regards to teaching, especially during lectures or their workbooks that they give the students.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, I don't see anything wrong for now. Of course, there's always room for improvement in anything you do. But yeah, the day part is being competitive to the world. I think our training is also competitive to the Indians and the Chinese and everybody.
Mm-hmm.
We have to stand it. That's all I can say. Yeah.
Okay.
We
Do
really
you
have to
think
stand it.
we are ready to do you think seafarers are ready to be able to work on increasingly automating vessels?
You think like the whole world is such?
Yeah, I mean, just from
I
you,
mean, are
from
we
your
ready?
sense, do you think that the training that seafarers are currently getting is that making them be able to work on automated vessels? Because that's a talk right now. Just as
Yeah. That's a big talk. And anyway, actually, I think if there's gonna be ships like that, there still need to be more courses and trainings to be put in place for us as seafarers. Um, I don't think we are ready as yet. In fact, we are actually demolishing that idea as seafarers because as soon as you speak automated, there's gonna be a cutting of personnel also. Because now if a machine can do this, then why hire someone? You know? Now the crews are gonna get less and less and less and less and less. So seafarers don't even want to think about that whole aspect, even it coming to reality. But to answer your question, yeah, I think we are ready. Like I said, we need to embrace technology. It's inevitable. It's here now. It's changing. Like before, we had paper charts. Nowadays, very few ships sail with paper charts. Now we use this thing called ECDIS, which is an electronic chart display and information systems. It's like
sure.
basically a paper chart, but electronically in a monitor. So it plots the ship's position every now and then. You can see where you are in the world, while the ship is moving. All you have to do is just monitor. It shows you all the dangers and the targets while you're navigating in the water. So it's pretty much integrated all these different equipments into a one sort of like monitor. And then all the navigator has to do is also in the engine room, they have systems that they can detect alarms. An engineer doesn't necessarily have to be in the engine room because he's got a system that tells him that, oh, something so is wrong, you know. So I think we pretty much reached the automation stage, whether we like it or not.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
just we
sure.
need to embrace it, train for it. Unfortunately, in this industry, like the aviation industry, we can only know about a certain loophole once an incident or accident happens, and then we can learn from that. But I think, yeah, we are ready. It's upon us. It's very, very much upon us. Yeah.
Okay. No. Thank you for that enlightening perspective. In our country, one of the biggest challenges for seafarers is finding a berth. This becomes more of a challenge for women. What do you think can be done
Yeah.
for this problem to be resolved? And why do you think that particular solution may be?
Um. For me, right, personally, I think this is just my opinion. Okay, it is hard for women to find employment anywhere. It is hard nowadays. You rather have to start as a cadet, or I think also maybe the increased number of seafarers each day being certified compared to the number of ships that we have globally. It's also an issue. There's more seafarers now, I think, in my term. However, I think this it could be managed better. I mean, those bodies, Department of Transport, I feel like they're managing an aspect and they don't know how big this industry is. And because South Africa is like 6,000 or 7,000 of coastal water, so it's to have only 5,000 South Africans at sea. For me, that's disappointing, actually.
Okay.
Like how about we build our own ships or conduct our own, work in that land, because all these countries that we're talking about, like China and them, they're building their
Yes.
own ships.
Yeah.
They don't need for an agency or a foreign country to come and employ. I think we have the means, actually. It's just there's mismanagement or poor management from our Department of Maritime or Transport um, personnel. Like it would be better if maritime was managed by people who have been at sea. So when they talk about maritime, they know what they're talking about. They don't only just talk about maritime when it's day of the seafarer and then they disappear for the whole year and then they will again next year. Seafarers are key workers and whatnot. I mean, we have minerals, so much minerals in the country, and we're paying so much for transportation of those minerals. How about we build our own ships, cut the middlemen, employ more seafarers, more shipping companies on the shore side? It's really, this is just basic business, I think. I think we have the means to go to any Japanese shipyard, build 4 ships at a time, look at the market and say, okay, we have 4 ships like this in 5 or 3 years. Let's see how this thing works out. Have our own ships registered in our country as well, like before, because I think 10 years ago, was it 98 or 96, we had a lot of ships in South Africa, submarine in them. So it means we've done it before and we can do it again. Yeah, I think the Department also of Transport should just broaden the aspect, because when someone says Department of Transport, we all think taxis and quantums, but we also are under Department of Transport. So I think the government itself needs to needs to focus more on us as well, and also aviation. Like, how about that kid or Senkanta or Selalin? How do they become a pilot other than having to be coming from a rich family? Is there any program that the government is putting forward to say we're going to ask this financially qualified students to start? Let's get more people in the industry, actually, or from different backgrounds. And there's so much opportunity in South Africa, so much opportunity for business stakeholders and whatnot. I think if we should build our own, start up our own shipping companies and be competitive then in that way, once we build more ships, then we can employ our own ladies and our own seafarers, like most of the other countries are doing, actually. Because if you're going to rely on foreign companies, they cutting off South Africans and employing more Filipinos and Indians. And now we have a lot of people qualified but sitting at home and they're so capable. And I just think that the government just neglected everything. Only on the day of the seafarer, then they come and say, oh, seafarers are this, seafarers that, which is fine. But I feel there's a lot of things that should be done. Also, SAMSA speaking, if we had the proper management, I think, of people there. I'm not saying they're not proper, but I'm saying if they could improve their management bodies, get more people from sea experience, people who know what they're talking about, And then it would be better like that. Like let's get some ships. Let's order ships, buy a ship or something, and let's get people. That's the only way out for me. We cannot be relying and begging for other foreign Greek companies or Norwegians, because they will cut us down, you know, like they have actually. That's why most seafarers are at home now, because they're saying, South Africans are more expensive. I can hire 2 Filipinos with the salary of 1 South African. So they continue to chop as things become more expensive and more competitive nowadays. So let us not rely on those other people. Let us start our own thing. No, the budget, just start all the ships, and then we take it from there. I think.
I see. Yes, I wanna join with your voice in that call there. To government, Minister of Transportation, and other authorities. But also, I want to extend the call, like I've done before, to private funding. Patriotic South African companies, more especially those that are in the financial sector, your insurance companies, your banks, your hedge funds, your investment companies. Those are the companies that are sitting with huge amounts of reserves, financial reserves. Those amounts of money, those funds can be used to invest in building ships. So I really want to make a call, not only to government, 100%, you're quite right, but to also give a call to private companies to also be patriotic and pull their weight on this issue, so that South Africans can own their ships, so that we can be able to hire our people on our ships, because seafarers are not in shortage.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Yeah, they're not.
No, thank you so much.
There's overqualified.
Now, as we move to the close of our discussion, do you intend to spend your whole life at sea?
Yes, no. With the way that it's going now, maybe no, because it's like, I don't know, it becomes being at sea, judging from when I first started, it was much more, I want to say relaxed, but it was more, you could manage, it was more manageable. Nowadays, I don't think you live long if you work at sea, like completely. But yeah, for now, I want to give myself a few years at sea, like 10 years from now.
Yes.
Yeah, I still see myself sailing for a while. I mean, I love what I do. I think that's my downfall, the fact that I love what I do. It's gonna keep me coming here. Yeah. So yeah, I'm not planning to stay here. Of course, I just want to get the highest qualification and experience that I possibly can within the company, because you also remember that as seafarers, we're not permanent contracts. So if a company decides, now where am I gonna get another berth, like you said, because it's difficult. So as far as I can go. Yeah, I'll see. I haven't actually thought about that one, but I'll see.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Yeah. You still there?
Yes, I'm still here. I'm still here. There we go. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're saying you're not sure what to do after that?
Yeah, I just want to get so much sea time now. Acquire sea time, acquire my chief mate's qualification and my captaincy, and then I'll just take it from there. I still love what I do, and I still miss it when I'm not at sea. I'm working for Green Rod, which is a relatively good company, I think. So yeah, I'm still enjoying my time here, man. While I still have the oomph for it, I don't know in 10 years or 5 years now I feel sorry.
No, that's beautiful. That's beautiful.
I don't know.
Mnqobi, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you, Lula.
Yeah, no, we wish you all the best with your future plans and your endeavors, and may God bless you, my friend.
All right, likewise, man. God bless you too.
Okay. To our viewers, thank you for joining us here on Ship to Shore. For more content, please subscribe on our YouTube channel and Facebook page and Twitter account. Ship to Shore. Thank you and goodbye.